customers. He has an extensive experience in building product life cycles and establishing GTM strategies for existing and new product verticals across the institutional and consumer landscapes in India and Southeast Asia. Mr. Ritesh graduated from IIT Delhi and joined Bosch R&D as a senior engineer and earned 2 patents in the process. He moved on to business development facility of Bosch after a year and spent 6 months understanding the ecosystem. During college, he started a non-profit organization, Saras, to help the masses get access to education technology developed by universities in India and abroad. It was the time spent working with Saras that urged him to join Avanti, a non-profit organization that provides low-income high school students a world-class science and mathematics education. In 2014, he moved on to co-incubate Equation with his classmate and friend from IIT Delhi. Ritesh manages the overarching strategy for Equation. I invite them both on the stage. One mic is fine?
Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Welcome all to this conference. I'm Ritesh, and the focus of this particular session is talking more on the topic of education for sustainable development. And as we were hearing in the inaugural session about the whole idea of upskilling the current workforce, or before that, talking about the SDG 4 of talking about the access, easy access and quality education for all. The country having almost the highest population among the world, are we ready for that? Are we prepared to give easy access and quality access to our kids who are there in the school? First, I would like to address that. And then after that, I'll invite Joy to discuss more on how the current workforce who's working today are ready and very much into upskilling themselves into the new form of technology which is coming up. I think Praveen sir has tossed this idea of training our current workforce on ESG. I think we are associated, in Imarticus, we are associated with almost 250 plus corporates. And I would like to tell you that most of them are well aware about this, and they are inviting us to train their top leadership players on about ESG and how they can inculcate all such ideas in their own business. So focusing on the early education or K-12 education, I think once I was coming to IIT, I'll start with this story. I did my schooling from Bihar, and fortunately got a chance of quality education because my sister was in Kota. I went there, got some good quality teachers, cracked JEE, entered into Delhi, IIT Delhi. The moment I went into the institute, seeing the divergence which was there. So one hand, I had a few of my friends who were topper of my class sitting in a tier 4 city. They were struggling to pass class 12th examination. On the other hand, in IITs, I met few of my friends who are in top tier schools of India. They were literally day one debating on some serious topic with the directors of IITs. Seeing this divergence, I mean, that day I was sold to that idea that this country need very, very, important or something, an easy solution, easy accessible solution, which can ensure quality education for all. If we are going to fail on that, we are going to fail as a country. And from that day onwards, we started working with some non-profitable firm, how we are going to ensure using the technology, access to education. And to that, I mean, when I got the opportunity in college, we drastically failed while attempting this, probably because of the less exposure. But the day we understand the whole idea of implementation of large-scale technology, we started deep diving the whole sector. If we talk about, current standing, 260 million students are in school education, and still the government school system are the prime source of providing education to these kids. If we talk about people who are sitting in this room, think about, the government school system. The first word come after, the government school system. We all challenge the current structure of government school system where 51% plus students are studying. Nobody, and we all know the issues, the access to quality education, the access to quality teachers, the teachers to student ratio, all are affected in these segments. And as a result, we are seeing the almost the failure of such systems. The ratio of people who are studying in getting admitted into the college, 10 people admitting into the 10 people admitting into the school, only one student is probably making into the colleges and 9 people are getting dropped out. This is the sustainability of that education, school education system. We have it in country like India. I mean, this is something which is a disastrous situation for us. Considering the technology penetration of mobile internet, which is significantly going to the rural parts of India also, we thought of coming up with the solution which can ensure education on mobile. We started trying this in 2015, 14-15 timeline. And when we launched the solution, again, the user of those solutions were concentrated in top tier cities of the country. And at the same timeline, my home state in Bihar, I got a call from one of the IAS officer. I'm not aware about how many of you are aware, know Baka district. It's a district which is in Bihar. Left-wing affected area, it is not very developed. I still remember the day I got the call. The stats were in the schools which this district has, the attendance of those schools were 37%. So if 100 people enrolled into the school, 17, 18 people were coming. 17% attendance were there. And the passing percentage in board examination, which is one social stigma which affects, which is associated with the school system a lot, was 37%. 100 people appearing in board examination, only 37 people are passing the exam. This was the problem statement which was there with us. The important part of this was, even though when we talk about the mobile penetration in rural India, when we did the survey, 25 to 26% students were using mobile internet. That too from their parents' phone or their brother's phone or sister's phone. The things which happened there was, then we discovered the model that if you are going to serve this government school system where people who are studying there are belonging to the bottom of the social pyramid, you need to discover a method to teach one-to-many model, not one-to-one model, which is a mobile phone. We discovered the model, we tried, and so I was talking about this particular issue of limited number of quality education and lack of personalization. We discovered the AI-enabled digital classroom one-to-many model, which basically contextualized the learning experience for all. I just wanted to give you a brief on the impact it has created. So what we did was we discovered a model, one-to-many model, which created a closed loop feedback mechanism for students. It started building learning curve for each and every student and started giving them feedback, not on mobile, but it was on smart TV, one-to-many model, one-to-many teaching model we adapted there. And this was translated into such changes within 8 months of timeline. First month impact was the attendance, which was 17% in school, suddenly jumped to 50 to 55%. And in some of these schools, this figure went to 80 to 90% also. My point to this is, today, we are not able to ensure quality education in our school, and that is the reason why students are not coming to school. The day we are going to ensure that, we are going to see these people coming in and learning from the system. So the whole idea is to give these the solution, the innovation and solution requires technology, but it requires social innovation also. Seeing the ground reality, we need to build the model and then deploy it to the school system. So first, improvement which happened was in attendance. The second biggest improvement which happened was this 38% passing percentage in board examination. In very first year, it jumped to 71% in very first year. And I think after this board examination result came into the picture, it came as a surprise for the entire state, not just for the entire state. Banka was an aspirational district, and I think the KPIs of the district were measured by Niti Aayog also. So, I mean, Niti Aayog official literally went to the district to see what went, what was changed last year. They analyzed it, and the very same year, the program got Prime Minister's Excellence Award of that year. And the program which we started for 100 school now is running in eight states, and we are working with 8 state education department, and it is ensuring quality education for them, for all these students. So almost 15,000 schools we are working with today. And such solution is giving us strong hope. We have seen, so this project is now, running from last 5 years. We have seen growth in students, people who passed out of this model, went to a great college, who went to, a great, career opportunities also. So it's very, very important to handhold and strengthen our school system if we are talking about the sustainable growth across, across the entire nation. I mean, very importantly, this model is expanded to the level. I mean, literally in COVID, when students were not, so these students were not having the access to mobile, and then the model went into the direction where in COVID period, the whole learnings expanded to DD channels. So we're teaching almost 5 to 6 crore, right? Oops, sorry. Is it, I think. It is coming on the screen, I don't know whether. Okay, I tried changing the slide also. I think there is some problem. Okay, so I think after the impact during the COVID also at national level, Diksha application took the entire curriculum, and during the COVID on the Doordarshan channel, etc., the whole program were implemented, and more than 5 to 6 crore beneficiaries were there of such program. So the point is, I just try to summarize the model which we tried implementing it. And again, considering the kind of population we have, diversity we have, early child education or in primary or secondary education level, contextualization is one important element. When we were implementing the solution while being into the college, we tried taking solution from Delhi in villages of Bihar, and we failed to get the attention of learners. When we contextualized it and implement the solution in Bihar, recontextualized it for Assam, Meghalaya, etc., I mean, we got great response in learning outcomes and results also. And that way, I mean, this school model is currently, I mean, today, it is mentioned by our Honorable Prime Minister multiple times as a successful model. Multiple states are adopting this. And I think in similar line, we created success stories for working professionals as well by collaborating with Tier 1 institution. I think I'll invite Joy to discuss more on that, how we are changing the shape of upskilling sector in India. So Joy, if you can come and talk about that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. I think we'll just wait a quick minute if we can fix the screen. While we wait for the decks to come up, I'll just give you a very quick overview in terms of how we look at like the marriage of being sustainable and the education space as a whole, right? I think it's very interesting for 2-3 reasons. One is obviously the concept of being sustainable has been there for a very long time, but it was more formalized back in 2015 when the SDGs came by, and when they were in fact in 2015 is when all the 17 SDGs were adopted by the UN. I think he did refer to SDG 4, which is the one on education. Broadly, when we look at education, at least in the Indian context, there's the early childhood, then there's K-12, which is like the kindergarten to grade 12. Then you go through like the secondary education, and then you move into like the higher ed space, which is not very formalized. It's more vocational in nature. I think when we look at 4 in particular, the SDG 4, and then we go drill it down further, there's like a subsection over there, 4.4. Sure, I'll be, yeah, sure. Yeah, correct. So I'm just maybe taking like 2-3 minutes to go set a little bit of more context around the way we see the Indian education landscape, right? When I say we, obviously, I don't want to talk a lot about Imarticus Learning and what we do. So I'll just right now stick to the landscape as a whole and how the 4.4, which is like the subsection within SDG 4, that speaks about, in fact, lifelong learning. So access to quality education is at the heart of the sustainable goal. Within that, I think 2 big A's that we speak about all the time. One is affordability, the other one is accessibility. Today, I think we got the chance to go rub shoulders with pretty much like the who's who of the education space, at least within Roorkee, within North India. It is not something that I got access to growing up. It's not something that most of people across India have access to today also, right? I think the ability to use the internet or to use, in fact, technology as a medium to go bridge that as an access, forget the affordability right now, right? It's just about how can we build something where there is access to such high quality, to such high quality intel, to such high quality intellect. All of that is something of interest that we are trying to aim for. The other one is the affordability. Yes, there is access today, but is that doable, or can we allow that access in a slightly more affordable fashion? We believe again that is something that we able to do, and we able to go bridge through using technology. So today, for an example, we have a whole host of programs that we are running with the Department of Management Studies at IIT Roorkee. All the way from in fact, say supply chain management to, in fact, say marketing programs. We're doing one on like AI and ML. There's a program that we're running in cybersecurity. There's a lot of action as such, and I think at like the heart of each of these is how can we build out something like this without creating like a carbon footprint which is very strong and long. Broadly, if I were to again go back to this, right, the way we operate today is in like the higher education space. So the first half of this presentation, we wanted to speak to you a little bit about like the early education and like the K-12 education, where this one case in point, which we piloted in one university in one district, but very quickly that was adopted across 8,000 colleges in the country, like the Prime Minister's Excellence Award. We were in, last month only in Ahmedabad to go receive it from the PM. Again, these are like great validations to the point that there is certain drives, and there is something that you care about in your heart, and you have the platform and the medium to actually go enable that or to go activate that at scale. The other thing I think that's extremely interesting is where we stand today, right? So the SDGs, as I mentioned to you earlier, were like adopted back in 2015, but the SDGs have a time limit. They are supposed to, be in practice by 2030, which means that affordability, for example, in SDG 4, you need to have access to quality education for everybody at early school and the lifelong learning by 2030. We ironically find ourselves at like the midpoint at this point, right? We're in 2022, 23 right now. We are literally 50% done. If you look back and maybe run like a report card in terms of how the world has done today on SDGs, I don't think we're 50% there. So we need to chase like a lot more than we are right now. So like our run rate has definitely gone up higher 6, or it's like way in fact, say more than 6.0 right now. In general, this is a little bit about how how we at Imarticus are trying to make a small dent in the problem. Obviously, this is like a tectonic move. It's not going to happen when 1, 2, 3, or 5 players come together. It needs to, be fairly large, where everybody sees the need for something like this and then has the tools to go enable this kind of a change. Broadly, the way we look at this is we don't only work with students. We work a lot with academic institutions. We work a lot with corporates. As in fact, like Ritesh was also alluding to earlier, ESG is a theme which has become like the flavor of the season now from most corporates that we conduct our training programs at. We need to actually run pillar to post to find the kind of training material or the trainers to be able to deliver these kind of programs. So I think very clearly you start seeing the early hints and you start seeing the early feelers from the industry as to how they choose to invest training, in fact, the budgets in their employees. And to that extent, these kind of changes are not only B2C in nature, where we're working directly with the end consumer, but even with enterprises or the academic houses at large. In terms of the geography, the delivery, the domains we operate with, I won't go into too much detail. It's on the screen. It's actually quite self-explanatory. Broadly, finance, analytics, and in the emerging technology spaces. I'll just skim through a few. Yeah, speak a little bit about this. So in terms of B2C, when I spoke about, there are, I think, when anybody comes to us at Imarticus, right, we try to give them the answer to one simple question, which is, what do I want from you? The way we go do this is when we build out our programs and our products, we try to start from the end. So what I mean by that is we look at the outcome. Why should somebody do this program with you? Maybe I want a job, where the employability becomes the key outcome, which means that can we build out like a meaningful, in fact, a talent pool, and then get that addressed by getting access to jobs and employability for these students. And that's when the need to reskill and upskill comes back, right? The second outcome that we chase is can I get upskilled, which is can I, maybe I'm a banker, I work in finance, I have a certain, I know a little bit about, new themes. For example, there's this, for the last 1.5 years, there's a concept of fintech, right, which has now become large. Everybody's talking about it. It's got everything to do with financial inclusion. It's about how can you get access to formal credit, which otherwise maybe as like a tier 3, tier 4 person in fact, say rural India might not have access to that. The ability for us to go disrupt the way you would run, in fact, say traditional financial services and try to bring that within the realm of fintech is something that's extremely beautiful at the heart of it when you go into detail, right? Today, for example, if you want a car loan, they will check you for who you are or for at least who you were yesterday, right? They look at your CIBIL scores, they look at any kind of, say lineage that you had in terms of your credit worthiness in the past. They don't, necessarily see the kind of, say potential that you may have in the future. Like a BTech graduate from IIT Roorkee will probably be able to buy, 5 cars in the next 10 years, but nobody is giving him that credit or giving her that credit today. You're just looking at, where you came from, say 5 years ago to build out your credibility. I think, that's when these fintechs come in and they're able to like truly disrupt the way you look at people and how do you assess their credit worthiness. So that's just one example. So now, for example, we are running like a lot of programs in fintech where, again, if I go back to the SDG 4.4, lifelong learning and the ability to go reskill and upskill so that I get, better at what I do and get access, to like a decent job. Again, I'm just using terms in like the nomenclature of the SDG itself. So a decent job is in stone. So what that means essentially is access to an organization where you are like fulfillingly working and where like the conditions of work are extremely decent. For you to do something like that and the need for you to go upskill, like say time and time again, is something which is extremely critical. The term upskilling or reskilling is used very interchangeably for right and wrong reasons. But in general, I think if you look at how our portfolios today, may it be with IIT Roorkee or a few other partners that we also operate with, the sense at the heart of each of these offerings is to become like a better version of yourself. It's to get reskilled, it's to get upskilled, and get access to a job that you are either going aspiring for a long time, or for something that keeps you more abreast with the times. Again, this, you may argue or you may say, is not solving like the real problem of how can you become more sustainable, how can you reach like the grassroots in fact say level. But again, we will obviously try to work on both ends. As mentioned earlier, you'll need to find the right balance between sustainability and profitability. And I think as we are all learning over time, there is actually not like a consideration where you have to choose one from the other. They are both intertwined in itself, because if your business is not sustainable from day zero, it's never going to be profitable later. This is again like a learning that we've seen across all sectors, in particular the fintech and the edtech sector, where there was like a lot of, in fact, tailwinds. There was like a lot of momentum during COVID. Everybody was getting funded. There was a lot of noise in the sector. Now I think when people have gone back to schools, when they're going back to colleges, it's become more real. There's a lot more, say, sectoral consolidation that's happening now. And you see, I mean, who's going swimming naked when the tide resides, right? It's a little bit like that. All the wrongs and all the rights at the end of the story. I think which is why I think trying to run like a business which is sustainable from day one, that has like a very healthy unit economics behind it, that has the right, in fact, say, purpose to go build out a program like that in the first place. Again, these are things which literally go define like the ethos and the DNA of who we are. We are not in a business where we would spend like 80 cents to make $1. We don't do those kind of things. And I think, in fact, just going back to the concept of sustainability, we are very keen to in fact keep investing, maybe in like the early childhood or K-12, or like the secondary education, or in our case now like the vocational and like the higher education space, to make sure that most of the solutions we do are in a way directly impacting the end user, and we do it in a manner where we are being sustainable, where ideally say carbon footprints are significantly lower than what they were back in the day. The access to the internet is one massive way of of adding more green to everything we do. You don't need to take a taxi or a bus or a train to come to my classroom anymore. You're sitting at home and saving all like that carbon footprint. You're doing everything possible using technology to make sure that you're bridging that gap, and you're not just overtly in a position to go utilize each of these resources, which over time will keep on getting more and more scanty. This is a little bit about where we operate across the country, etc. Again, the idea behind this was not to give you like a quick debrief of the organization, etc., but it was just to go maybe spend a little bit of idea in terms of how we look at the two spaces of formal education today. One at like the school level, which is through one of these examples which we did very recently, and the other one on like the higher education space, where we see like a thematic change in the way people are now perceiving and are now accepting concepts of sustainability. We'll be happy to take on any questions, observations. Don't want to make it like a long interactive session, obviously in interest of time. But if you have any thoughts or any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer that. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Professor Sai. From your slide, my institution also appears, BIMTech. And my question is to both of you. And if you permit me, could I address you, Banke ke Bihari Babu? What was the hurdles that you faced? Your program is very nice. I'm also aware about, I come from Devghar, very near Banka and between Bhagalpur. But more than the technology, the social part also plays a lot. And how did you handle technology part? I'm quite
Right.
okay, being from IIT Delhi.
Right. So, right, sir. I mean, I think that is the reason why I said, so it was more of less of a technical innovation. It was more of a social innovation which we brought in. The major challenge which we had was out of 104 schools which we had it there. We implemented model in Godda also, which is the neighboring district of Devgar, sir. 104 schools of Godda had 196 teachers. There were challenges where music teachers were supposed to teach science and maths of class 10th and 12th, which is practically a little impossible. We enabled these teachers as a mentor to the model, where if it is one-to-many transaction which is happening via a smart TV, they are going to change. So the major social revolution which we brought in is the ownership of the model. We had given it to teachers. And when teachers saw the learning curve going above, in a positive slope for students, we projected them as a local hero, and that has changed the game. We found teachers going into the rural parts of the district, bringing the children back to the school, and that sustained the model. So there, the limited resources which we had, we enabled them by use of the technology, and that helped the model a lot in ensuring the reach of quality education. Also, as a mentor, they were ready to deliver all the subjects via use of technology, and that helped kids and the teachers both to ensure the passing percentage in the school. So, and we replicated the same model by contextualizing the content in different states with different language, different examples. Thank you, sir. Hi.
I'm Himanshu Joshi from Force Growth Management, Delhi. My question is regarding the how do you manage your revenue stream? Is there any subsidization from higher education to elementary education?
So on the revenue front, for this particular implementation, all the EdTech implementation which is happening in government school system, there are typically three routes how it is happening, and we explored all three models while implementing in different parts of India. One is, of course, the direct CSR collaboration, which we are doing it with corporates and PSUs. They are coming in and helping us implementing the model. The other model is the directly the state education department try to implement. Now they have seen the power of such implementation, so they are directly funding such initiative. The very third is different, bodies, non-profit bodies like UNICEF. So this BACA model expanded across all the higher schools. Once we got the Prime Minister's Excellence Award, there was a committee set. Our Honorable CM came to see the model. He came for half an hour, sat for 2 hours to explore further. So UNICEF sponsored this whole program across 5,700 higher schools. So today, if you go to any higher school of Bihar, you'll find this model. So the third model was through the non-profit organization come in picture, and they funded the model significantly, right? Thank you. So internally, I mean, again, so we as a private limited company, we had our own model of having minimum delta P on this,
Okay.
and maximizing the volume.
Okay.
So that model, what we followed there in this particular stream of education.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fine.
thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, we probably have time for one last question. One there. So he raised his hand first.
So good evening. Again, we were on the screen. I'm with Dr. Sahai only. So you said about certain alliances you have. ACCA, you showed there, GAP is there, another. So what's that? How they are within that particular model you were giving? And at the same time, the people who will going to take advantage of such kind of what's called a partnership with you, whether we are getting the benefit of the alliances also along with it?
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. So broadly, in the vocational education space, right, where skilling is at the heart of what we try to do. The ACCA partnership, for example, we have different, in fact, lines of businesses, which are all, in fact, driven by the outcome that they derive. So the first one is the employment one, where we try to assist with jobs. So today at Imarticus, we are placing close to 430 last month. Every month we are placing close to 430 students. This is bigger than any academic institution in the country in terms of size, right? This is 5,000 placements a year, even more than that. The other outcome is one of upskilling, where somebody comes to us because they want to get better at something, which is when they would do in fact a program with us, and like the continuing education teams within IIT Roorkee, for example. The third one is where they need access to some kind of say global credibility, where we build out our accounting and finance certificate programs. So for example, the ACCA one you looked at, the FRM one, we have CMA, we have CPA. Going forward, we will have CFA and CFP as well. So everything in the finance and accounting space that you can actually get access to using like a charter club, where you would actually go enable yourself to become in fact a part of that body, like the CS or the CA in India. We also assist those kind of training programs, which means we not only train, but we also make sure that you go pass those examinations. So as in fact like a user or a student or a learner, you don't get access to everything together. You would have to pick and choose which kind of program you want, basis the outcome you are trying to chase.
Talk about all these things.
I mean, it's a perception of price is an outcome of like the value that it derives, right? I mean, the same car will cost, say 10x of what the other car costs also. But in general, I think if I truly look at it, right, if today I get access to a quality IIT Roorkee faculty by paying 1 lakh rupees, and I have a 6-month long, in fact, a program that I'm doing as a part of like my continuing education, piece, to me that is value well spent. I don't have to spend as much as I would otherwise, coming to an IIT, but I'm still getting access to the same faculty. I'm able to learn from the exact same individual that I would have otherwise in the classroom or like the lecture room. So I think the accessibility and the affordability will always go hand in glove, but you just have to find the right balance from like a commercial model versus how much scale can you get on the other side. And to his point, right, I think where you have access to volume, then you don't look at like the commercial models as much, because even like in fact a 2% margin on a massive scale will be like a gold mine, even for like in fact a private limited company, where to like one of the observations earlier, say profit is the reason that like a private limited company would exist. So I think keeping that balance is obviously extremely important, without being transparent, without being in fact non-transparent.
Thank you, Team Imarticus. I would like to request Professor Usha Lenka to felicitate Team Imarticus. Thank you. Our next session is with Commodore Kamlesh Kumar, CMD Hindustan Salts. He started his career as naval cadet through NDA in 1986 and was further commissioned as sub-lieutenant in Indian Navy at the age of 21. He served Indian Navy for 31 years and took premature retirement in 2020 to join Hindustan Salts. He joined Hindustan Salts on 6th August 2020 after an auspicious career in Indian Navy. Hindustan Salts Limited is a central public sector enterprise under the administrative control of Ministry of Heavy Industry, Government of India. HSL was incorporated in 1958 with an objective to take over and manage salt works belonging to Government of India at Gujarat and Sambar Lake. Rock salt mines and mandi of GOI was also transferred. Welcome to DOMS, sir.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would say afternoon is quite sleepy. So you all can take 2 deep breaths, come out of your sleep, because what I'm going to tell you is something which affects everyone. So it is not a particular organization, but is in the syllabus of every human being. So please wake up in case you are feeling sleepy, and kindly tune in yourself to this, what I'm going to tell you. This company, as you know, Hindustan Salts Limited, we all are talking about business. My first question to the audience is that from the time humanity has come, which is the first business that started on this earth? I'm sure some answers would come, but the first business that started when the humanity was there, that came into being, was the business of salt. The reason is simple, that nobody could thrive or survive on this earth even for a day or even one meal without salt. And everyone was not living in the coastal areas. There were people living in the hinterland. So somebody had to bring the salt from coastal areas to the hinterland and ensure throughout the world salt was available. So only one business that was required throughout the globe to sustain humanity was the business of salt. And the last business that will not go out of fashion is the business of salt. So till the time humanity is there, salt would be there. You cannot eat your meals without 3 times having 3 tablets of salt in forms of whatever grams, ensuring that 5 to 10 grams of salt you eat. So we cannot survive. Even if you fall sick, exhausted, doctor comes and gives you first what? Saline water ka IV charao. First thing that comes to get you back to life. So that important is salt to you, or salt to each human being. So I'm going to tell you something about it, something that you may not know. I'll give you a little insight into it, whilst I'm telling you something more about the salt. The company that I run is Hindustan Salts Limited. There is only central PSU which is into the business of salt. So you might be wondering, why is government into salt? I told you the reason. After water and air, the most important element for human being is salt. You cannot live without it. You can live everything else, but you cannot live without it. The scope of my presentation is as flashed. This company of ours, Hindustan Salt Limited and Sambar Salt Limited, which is its subsidiary, is a government enterprise. There's only PSU which is engaged in the production of salt and allied products. When we salts of all kinds that you think, which I'll tell you about, is produced by us. It is the first company which produced iodized salt in India. We started production of this iodized salt in 1974, before even Tatas were born and into the production. So we are the first one who got into iodization. We are the first one who gave this to the country. The business of salt since independence, rather I would say a little story about it, that since since humanity was there, the salt was there. And one of the lake that we have is called Sambar Lake, whose mentions are there in Mahabharata also, thereafter during Chandragupta Maurya, during the Mughal Samraj, then thereafter Britishers, and thereafter post-independence. This salt business has been there throughout in coastal areas, also in one of the lakes that we have, and in other places. So we have been into this, and whichever country, whichever governments have been there, they have been always keeping salt as the key part which has been there throughout. Now also salt forms as a part of union list. It's not in the state list. It is in the purview of the center to ensure that every person in the country gets salt. Salt works at Sambhar, that is in Rajasthan, then Kharagora, which is a little town of Kutch, which is owned by us, and also in Mandi, Gujarat, where the only source of Himalayan rock salt in the country, about 120 million tons, is with us. We produce salts which are naturally iodized. Himalayan rock salt, also lots of specialty salts. We also probably produce bromine, algae, green salt, and other things. Coming to Sambhar Lake, this is India's largest inland lake. It's spread about 90 square miles, about 230 square kilometers, very huge area. It's the source for about 10% of salt production in the country. It is also designated as a Ramsar site. Basically, it's a ecologically sensitive site, and internationally, it is a acclaimed site. So we have to ensure that the ecosystem of the complete lake is maintained. It is housed to thousands of flamingos who come during winters from the Central Asian countries, and they all come. You can see a lovely photograph there. So throughout the winters, it's a sight to behold. That is from October till March. Thousands of them come, and birds and the nature goes to a place where you get naturally good things. There are plenty of algae here, which adds value to our salt. And these flamingos, 20,000, 30,000 of them, they come. Their breeding season is here. They go back. They come white. And by eating these algae, they become pink. They come single, go back double from here. So everything happens here and they go back. So basically, the entire nature thrives and gets something from them and gives something back to them, which also ensure the quality of our salt, because of their arrival and going, is ensured in a particular way. So there are certain kind of algae which are there, which forms a part of our salt also, which ensures that the quality of salt is good. The specialized algae and certain bacteria which grow that ensure that the ecosystem of the area is ensured. Now, here we are talking about sustainable management. Why we are here and why in this topic we've been called. I will tell you a simple thing. We got to manage only two things. One is nature and the human, or the earth and the human. They are the two basic ingredients to be managed. Now, the nature outside, there are 1,000 theories you talked about ESG, you talked about COP, you talked about so many things. One simple question, ask yourselves. Has the reversal of nature getting back to its original started? No. Simple answer is no. Theories come, theories will go, trends will come, ESG will come. Before that, there have been so many things that has come. But there is no reversal of nature outside. Now, what is the answer? Answer is simple. Who is the biggest predator? Human beings. The biggest polluters, biggest predators, the biggest culprit who are upsetting the nature are human beings. And can we change human beings? No. Who can we change? We can change ourselves. That means if we can change the nature within us, if we become minimalist, if we ensure we eat natural things, if we can ensure that we stay closer to nature, if we ensure the needs, wants, and luxuries are reduced, the nature will automatically fall back in place. One simple example that came to us was during COVID. There was a lockdown. And you know, a place like Delhi had the best AQI. Their air condition, the status of air in Delhi, which is the worst state, was best. Why? Because humans were not there, no pollution. So you got the answer there. So it is us who can ensure that it comes back by changing our ways we live, the changing of the way we do things. No amount of these trends, no amount of things, no amount of sustainable business management is going to transform the nature. It is we, and we starts with I. I should ensure that I eat natural things. I should ensure that I should have a minimalistic life. I should ensure that my needs and wants are limited. Nature will automatically come back to its normal. So in that I part, where do I come? The I part is that one thing I consume is salt. And why is salt so important? I'll tell you a little story of macrocosm. If you see Earth per se, Earth comprises 71% saline water and 29% earth. If you get back to human body has got 71% saline water and 29% what we call Panch Tattva. We are a replica of what is there on earth. The salinity of sea is same as the salinity of human body. So if you can ensure that the salt that you consume, which comprises 70% of your body, or 71% of your body, you are ensuring that every cell, the minutest part of it, which has got water in it, saline water in it, and the intercellular spaces are filled with saline water, they are of the highest quality, they are of natural quality. That means your 70% health is ensured by just eating right salt. But if you do not eat right salt, whatever you want to do, any supplements you want to have, whatever you do, you be assured that 70% of your kingdom is tarnished, is polluted. You simply cannot take charge of it. So I gave you an example, the way earth exists, so does your body. If you can ensure that you eat right salt, that means every cell of your body has 70% content which is natural, which is full of good vitamins, which is full of good minerals, and so it will be fine. So here I'm trying to bring out that salt is the basic and fundamental component of all living cells in our body. It is essential for our nerves and muscles. Those of you who have read biology, you will find that in our nervous system, there are no blood vessels. What works there are the electrical currents. It just moves over the motor cycle. You have synapses, the electrical currents that work. These electrical currents require electrolytes. Where do they come from? NaCl is electrolyte. So sodium, potassium, and NaCl, they are the one who act as conductors. So salt is so important that every part of our system runs on salt. Now, regulation of fluids in the body, important control of all the blood pressures and volumes is controlled by salt. The chloride ions serve as an important electrolyte for regulating body pH. The alkalinity of the body and the pressure is ensured by them. And it is essential to maintain electrolyte balance and the fluids of a person's body to make it work fine. Now a little look here. As I told you that the water and earth, the human body 70%, 2/3 earth, and the body and water, what is the kind of comparison that we have. Now the composition of our blood, body, fluid, and sea that I have told you, 70% part also I have told you, and salinity of both I have also spoken about. Now where do we come here? Why are we here? The basic reason is that today the salt that you get outside, let's talk about Tata salt. I'm not here to name any salt, but let's talk about Tata salt that the entire country eats. The basic thing is these salts are taken from marine environment. That means you take seawater and you vacuum evaporize it, then you put something called anti-caking agent, and thereafter you put iodine and give it to people. Now, basically when we talk about any coastal areas, the coastal area, the seawater has got three benefits. What? It gives you industrial waste, it gives you sewage waste, and these days it gives you plastic microparticles. All these three form integral part of all marine salt. Any salt that you take, there is no method on this earth which can segregate these three. All washing, everything just takes away the external things which are there. But these three have become a part of molecular structure of salt. So all the salt that you eat, which is marine salt, has got these three ingredients. Now when it comes to factory, in the factory they are cleaned, and then each of these salt, every grain is coated with anti-caking agent called ferrocyanide. Not supposed to be edible thing, but FSI says it is partially edible because you want to have table salt where you sprinkle it, it should be free flowing. You want to touch it nicely, it should look nice. So to make it look nice, industry coats every grain with anti-caking agent. On top of it, he spreads synthetic iodine on it, 30 ppm. So now when you eat salt, remember 10 grams of salt you are eating every day. Every day you are having sewage waste, industrial waste, microplastics, anti-caking agent, and iodine. All are not required by your body with NaCl that comes. This is what, now you say that, I'm a vegetarian, I do not drink, I go for a run. Why do I have acidity? Why am I getting a heart attack? Answer is one thing. You're not eating right salt. Simple answer. Normally, being a science student, you know that the salt, NaCl, is supposed to be neutral. Its pH value is supposed to be 7 if it is produced in a laboratory. But salt, because of the impurities that it comes, you can check its pH value. It's 6.5 to 6.9. None of the salt is neutral. So all salts that we eat, which comes in the market, it could be in any shape, size, it is acidic. So every day you have a tablet of acidic salt filled with those 5 impurities I told you. So you have acidity. Everybody across has acidity. None of your problems. The salt is the mother of all the problems. Other part is that the human body is supposed to have things which comes from nature. Now, why are we here? This company of mine, since the time we have taken over, we have taken an oath that this company will produce only natural salt. We'll not refine them, we'll not take them anywhere else, we'll produce as the nature gives. So this salt that you see, crystal salt that we produce, this is the only salt in the world which is produced in an environment which is into a desert where there are no pollutions. You have no sewage waste, you have no industrial waste, and you have no plastic microparticles. So these 3 gifts are not given to you with the salt. Now in this, as I told you, the algae, those birds coming, it ensures there are 54 rare minerals which are required by the body are available in this salt. This salt is also alkalized. The pH of this salt is 9.5. Why is pH good? Because anything which is having alkalized value is an elixir for body. Body thrives best in an alkalized environment and it dies in an acidic environment. So this salt is alkalized. So anybody having acidity for years, simply consume this salt for 3 months and I can assure you, you'll be bereft of your acidity without those tablets. You can say bye-bye to them and you can continue to eat, nothing will happen to you. Those who've been told, even WHO says that you should have 5 grams of salt, but it says 5 grams of refined salt. I tell you, you have 50 grams of this salt every day, nothing will happen to you. Even if you are a hypertension patient, even if you've got acidity, any of the heart problems you have 50 grams of this salt, nothing will happen to you. Reason is, it is a product of nature. Anything from nature does no harm to human. Because we are a product of nature you are ingesting, nothing will go wrong to you. So be assured that this particular salt that I'm talking of, is only to ensure that each one of you must mind your salt and must know what you eat. And you must know what havoc it creates to your system. Now, next something is something called black salt. Now, this black salt, we thought that everywhere there's value addition. We must do value addition to our salt. So we have ensured that this salt is taken to a place called Kanpur. There we have some artisans who put this salt into earthen pots, use uplas, cover them, and boil them for 48 hours in a very natural environment. And in this 40 kg of salt, 4 kg of triphala is met. Triphala is harad, bahera, and amla. Along with this, babool's external part is put. Now these 3 particles are put. So this whole thing is boiled for 48 hours. What comes out is like a rock. We break that pot and what we call it is a black salt. It's a rock salt made by us. Now, why is it good? This is the only salt in our Ayurveda known as one of the lavans, which is good for making any medicine. This salt also has got laxative property. Those having constipation, if you use this, you're naturally cured of it. This has got a pH of 10.5. It is rich in iron. It has got ascorbic acid, which is required for absorbing the iron in the body. So naturally, both these products together had by a person, I can assure you, if you eat only these 2 salts, you will have no problems. All your health issues are addressed. Third is green salt. Of late, those of you who've been to US or EU, when you eat salad, they'll ask for green salt. In our country, it has not come up. There's a plant, a halophyte called Salicornia. This plant is also produced in our lake, and this particular plant thrives only in the saline environment. So what we do, we plant them, take out these plants, we uproot them, wash this, dry them, and make them into salts. So those of you who want to eat less salt, have these salts and eat them. What are the benefits of it? In addition to the benefits I talked about, you eat less salt, you got the benefit of this plant. And this salt, as of now, sells 200 grams for $22 in US. India people don't want to buy, we plan to export it now. So this particular salt has got tremendous value, green salt. There are three basic salts that we produce, and being a garment company, we are earning good profits, and we want to stay natural. This is how we are going to sustain the nature, sustain our business, and ensure that humanity thrives, and we get back to the natural way of living. Now, I was talking about algae. This huge land that I told about, I got 90 square miles of land. Here, if you look at algae, the algae has a budding potential to serve as a future solution to solve a lot of human-made problems of the natural crisis. Why do I say so? Because SSL has developed, we have done 3 trial projects at Samba, Mandi, and Kharaghoda, 3 different environments. And we are leveraging the saline water to produce high-quality algae products. Now, role of algae in the ecosystem, it is food for ocean life. You'll be amazed to know that the production of oxygen is 50 to 75% of the world's oxygen is produced by algae. It is not the plants. The algae all across the world, they produce 50 to 75% of oxygen. The photosynthesis is maximum done by them. They are rich in vitamins. They are used in modern food industries, food processing, plastics, paints, and also in lots of our medicines. Now, why are we talking about algae? It contains no sulfur. There are no SO2 emissions. There are no toxics or highly biodegradable biomasses. Here, what I want to tell you basically, that 400 times it is more efficient than tree in bringing back the nature to its normal self. If today we want that there's an issue of all over the place, there's a carbon pollution, there's a difficulty, and you want to get back to the natural way in a faster way. The only solution to that is more and more production of algae, which will ensure that 400 times removal of carbon dioxide takes place, more than what a tree can do by algae. Now, usage of this, I have told you there are plenty uses of this. The basic reason for us getting into algae culture is that algae is good for food. It is rich in food. It synthesizes maximum amount of CO2 into oxygen. We also have come out with algae that if each industry has algae plant next to it, the complete exhaust that it takes out can be put into algae. It can be converted into a edible thing, and there is no exhaust put into the air. So these are solutions that we have created. We have done the pilot projects, and we plan to establish a center of national excellence in country for algae growth and give it to all industries, because of late you have heard that ONGC was thinking of having carbon sink at the cost of 400 billion. Here, this will not cost us even 4 billion, and we can create carbon sink for the entire nation just by having algae growth. So there is another product that we are getting into, and these are the sustainable products that we are into. If a business has to be run, it should be run into these, which is going to get the nature back to its natural self, not going to degrade the nature by having some jigmos and some kind of, mumbo-jumbo words. Green energy, we have lots of land. I mean, my company owns about 80,000 acres of land. So about 5,000 acres, we have gone and put about 1 gigawatt green energy. Also, we are going for hybrid energy. We are also going for hydrogen, blue hydrogen, green hydrogen. In addition, we are planning at Samba about 4 to 5 gigawatt of solar plant. And so our contribution in terms of ensuring that the green energy is produced, and we lead by example, being a government company, in ensuring that the nature is reversed, brought back to its natural self. These are some of the initiatives in that part. Well, with this, I complete my part of presentation, but my only part to each one of you would be, instead of looking out and going at the symptoms and the effects, look at the cause. Cause of entire problem is us. we need to correct ourselves. We need to correct our way of living. We need to correct our inner nature. We got to ensure that we are pollution free inside. The entire environment will become pollution free. So with that, I conclude. If there are any questions, I'm ready to take. Yeah, Sheil.
Thank you for the insightful presentation, because we have all heard about all whites are bad for health, that is sugar, salt and maida. So it is I'm very glad to hear about such information about salt, because Indians love salt. So with that premise, apart from the appreciation, I have one more question. You're doing a lot of green work. Have you explored gaining carbon credits so that if you go carbon negative, you can share that credit to companies who are looking to buy those credits?
That was secret to my business. I didn't want to tell you here, but we are collaborating with two huge partners, and we are going to be having lots of carbon positives in this country. In our futures, in the exchanges, it has not come for sales, but the government is planning from next year there will be sale of carbon credits as futures. And before it comes, we are preparing ourselves. We have also collaborated with other partners who will help us ensure that evaluation of how these carbon credits are done, and we have all our back book ready. But there is a huge market that's going to come, because if tomorrow your industry is not carbon positive,
Right.
You will be getting lot of penalties. You will have lots of it. The business might become difficult for you. So prior it comes, we are gearing it up, and there's something up our sleeve that we are keeping, which will ensure that it earns mega millions for us in coming years, and that is being thought about. Not only in this, also in the forest. Underneath forest, you can go for the growth of algae, which ensures that the creation of oxygen and the photosynthesis is enhanced many-fold. That means in layers, you'll have the photosynthesis going on, and in layers, the CO2 being converted into oxygen. So those aspects we are working on. A simple thing, I'll tell you, being here, you'll get to hear that in the months of October, when Diwali comes, there's a huge talk, कि पंजाब में सारे पराली जल रहे हैं और पूरा का पूरा दिल्ली में pollution हो रहा है. We can't go. You keep hearing it every year. Now, just to share with you, we have partnered with a algae partner who's best in the world. We have found a way of transforming each of these paralis into green fodder within a matter of 7 days. And we would like to buy all the paralis in every village, convert it for them into green fodder and give it back to them, which will also ensure that the milk product of their calves increases by 30-fold, not 30 or 30%. So those parts also we are working on. So these are little contributions we are making in ensuring that the business remains sustainable in future. We do business and we bring back nature to its normal shape and ensure that at every time, we just ask simple question, whatever I am doing, is it benefiting the nature? Is it benefiting the humanity? If it is doing, then I am doing this SBM properly. If I am not doing it, it could be just a big talk, but no effect on ground.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Damodar, I don't have any question. In fact, I am also a PSU man, long back, retired and then scope man. I have one suggestion. We said we have to manage two things, earth and human being. I wonder, can we ever manage earth? We need to cooperate her. We are making all wounds on earth. We are digging, we are mining, we are inflicting all injury on Mother Earth. We can't manage. To me, we need to really listen to her, obey her, and be with earth rather than manage her.
Very true.
That's my suggestion.
Very true. I fully echo your voice, sir. And my also was this, that all efforts are being wasted in ensuring what are we doing externally. Nothing is being utilized, that what is it that I can do as a person in bringing change. And to answer it a little more, sir, there's a lot of talks, world peace, lot of talks. But I say the unit of world peace is human being. If I as a human being is peaceful, That means my family, my office will be peaceful. And if all families and offices of the world is peaceful, there's a world peace. So if you want a world peace, you become peaceful. The world will be peaceful. Similarly, if you want to bring nature to its original shape, you bring your living, your life in tune with nature and keep transforming it till it becomes better and better.
We'll take one last question.
Thank you, sir, for your insightful presentation. And sir, I had this question that since you all produce the salt with all the natural ingredients and through natural sources, then definitely your cost of production would be high as compared to private companies. Yeah. So, and the selling price has to be kept minimum or low to meet the criteria of public limited companies. So, sir, how do you switch over to higher profits and how do you cover those losses, maintain the profits in relation to companies?
I'll tell you. First of all, the entire earth gets energy from something called sun. If there's no sun, we all die. Entire earth comes to a halt in a matter of few days. Now, the salt that most of us eat, which comes from refinery, especially I say so from Tatas, it is water is taken, brought to TCL, transformed into the machine, packed and brought to your house. That salt has not seen sunlight for a day also. Simple. Now, the salt that I make, my energy is nil. I just utilize the nature. I take nature's water, put it in the nature's lab, requests Lord Sun that scotch it for 9 months, 12 months, it becomes crystals. I sell it. Here, yes, initially that I'm selling at a very premium cost. The reason is simple, that my volumes have not gone up. If tomorrow my volumes go up, I assure you I can give the countrymen salt at their doorsteps 50% cheaper than what Tata gives. 50% cheaper than what Tata gives. Simple. I've got 120 million tons of rock salt in Himalayas. I am not able to mine it and give it to people because our countrymen, they only buy a product जिसकी दाम कम होती है. अगर दो चीज है, इसका 2 रुपए, इसका 1 रुपए लेके जाएंगे. चाहे उसमें विष भी हो तो चलेगा, लेकिन 1 रुपए लेके जाएंगे. So they are only price sensitive. They are not quality sensitive. The amount of rock salt that I have is good enough to serve the entire nation for 20 years continuously. The consumption of edible salt in the country is 6 million tons, 60 lakhs of tons this country requires. I got 120 million tons of only rock salt. So my one mine can serve the complete nation for 20 years. If there's a tsunami and you can't go to ocean, you can't take anything. You've got the mines within country that can do. Our Samba Lake itself can give close to 20,000 tons of 20 lakh tons of salt to the country. 1/3 of country's requirement come from there. So we have capacity, but being a government organization, we don't go out marketing, we don't go out doing things. Our basic job is to ensure welfare of people. So we get into that. However, to survive, our products we have made a little higher in cost, but there is a rock bottom wherein I can ensure that affordable price this salt can be given to one and all if they require. My only impetus for telling each one of you was that realize the worth of salt and pass it on to others and ensure that when you eat a salt, you eat the right salt. That's all. And you be assured they will have the right health. Sorry, I took a little longer.
Thank you, sir. I would request Professor Manu Gupta to felicitate Commodore Kamlesh Kumar. Thank you to all the participants. Please proceed to the department lawns for high tea. Thank you.